everyone. I was looking at the Vegan Teacher's YouTube page, and she used the term vegan-phobic, so I couldn't help but look up Veganphobia. And we're just going to take a look at, like, the first 10-ish that I feel like responding to, sort of, TikToks, and it's just going to be, like, a little sample. And if this interests you guys, let me know, and we can do more vegan content on this channel.
This is exactly what white veganism is.
So this person's very quiet. She pointed to the comment and said this is exactly what white veganism is in veganphobia. The comment says, the excuse, the abuse, and veganphobia. But I will never stop because it's not about me, it's about the victims of abuse. And this person is saying, it's an unshakable savior complex that somehow gives you the right to speak to human beings however you would like.
An unshakable savior complex that somehow gives you the right to speak to human beings however you would like because you're doing something good.
And then the next part said, because you're doing something good, right?
Right? You're speaking on behalf of the victims. The thing is, that energy is never
This next part says, the thing is that energy is never reciprocated when it comes to speaking out about anti-blackness, homophobia, transphobia, and ableism. So, this is something where I want to say that everyone has their, like, not to defend vegans, and I think veganphobia is an absolutely moronic idea. But I do want to say that not everyone has to care about every social movement, and there are so many social movements and so many different movements, not only social, but environmental and political and stuff. Not everyone has to be concerned about every movement there is out there. There are some people that are kind of like, part of the reason why I don't have strong opinions on a lot of social movements is because I don't like people in general. In general, I tend to be a little bit misanthropic. I don't like to spend time with people. I'm very much a solitary individual, and I don't want to deal with people in general, for better or worse. I understand that some people are like, if you're not, part of the solution, you're part of the problem, and you're welcome to see me as part of the problem for my apathy. Like, you're welcome to see me that way. It's just, I have limited amounts of energy to invest, and my energy would probably go towards environmental causes rather than social causes, because humans perpetuate their own issues in a lot of ways. And I want to be clear, I'm talking very generally, I'm talking the wide scope of humanity. Like, humans harm other humans constantly in a variety of ways. Does that mean the humans that are harmed deserve it? No. But I'm more concerned with those that can't defend themselves. Now, this extends to some humans. Children, the disabled, the elderly, those sorts of things. Those that are more vulnerable than others. That being said, it's not that I don't care about racism, I don't care about homophobia, I don't care about transphobia. It's not that, it's that I have limited amounts of energy to put towards things, and I'm more concerned with those that can't defend themselves than those that can defend themselves and have a disproportionate amount of hate towards them. I feel sorry for them, but I have limited energy and can only put my energy towards so much. But that's me. I think this is just going to go more into this and about white veganism and stuff, so we're going to just go ahead and move on, because this isn't what I thought it would be, so we'll move on. So this comment says, today I tried to get a vegan meal at school, but every food had non-vegan foods inside.
Well, I'm reading the comments, and I see that you tried to get some vegan food at school, but everything had non-vegan products in it. So that completely sucks. It shows you what a vegan-phobic world we have, a carnistic world, a speciesist world. But I don't want you to give up. I want you to keep trying, and I want...
So this is the fact that she called this vegan, like, we live in a vegan-phobic world because you could not get vegan options at your school cafeteria. I'm not saying that that doesn't suck for you. It does, but this rings a la, like, the fat acceptance movement, and there isn't a size 30 in the store for me. Like, except vegans, I would say, are more common than a size 30. But even that aside, like, You go against the norm, and then you're upset that the norm doesn't cater to you. This isn't vegan phobia, just as it wouldn't be fat phobia. You have made a series of choices. Sometimes that makes things inconvenient for you. I'm sorry for this kid, since they talked about a school, I'm going to assume it's like high school sort of thing, and there were no vegan options on the school lunch menu. I'm sorry. That does suck for you, but that is the nature of being vegan, and you should kind of prepare yourself now that unless it is a specifically vegan restaurant, be prepared to have to order like an appetizer or bring your own food or that sort of thing, because that's part of being vegan. This is a choice you made.
I want you to do your part to pave the way for future students there. That means you should go to the principal and say, this is unethical. We have a right to have a proper vegan option here, and that includes, and you tell them specifically, it includes a certain type of protein. It can't just be a bunch of lettuce. Tell them that you want some lentils, some beans, or some chickpeas in there, or some tofu. And it has to be a proper meal, and it should be available for everyone. We both know that the entire school should be vegan, but in the meantime, do your part that way, and if you're really hungry, always bring...
So, once again, we're going into unethical. If you want to view this as unethical, I guess that's your prerogative. But we deserve... Here's the thing. You can talk about student life and student health in relation to vegan options at the school, but I don't like that this is painted in a form of oppression. Like, it's not... I don't know. There's just some... Like, public schools can only do so much. Like, if you want to talk to your principal or your dean of students and talk about getting vegan options in the lunchroom, that's, I mean, go to your student government. That's part of what student government is for, to advocate for students in the changing of the ways the student population operates. By all means, but let's be clear, you're not oppressed because there isn't a vegan option at your school.
Nuts and dates and raisins with you when you leave the house.
So we're going to move on.
End speciesism, end speciesism, end speciesism, be kind to the animals, and vegan phobia, and vegan phobia, and vegan phobia, be kind to the activists, dance if you're vegan.
Like, this, and vegan phobia and speciesism, don't get me wrong, I think that more steps need to be put forth to protect the environment. I am all for that. Turning it into something like speciesism, talking about and vegan phobia, it turns what you want into a caricature and a joke. That's the thing. And I would even say, like, sorry to connect, this channel is primarily about fat acceptance, so I can't help but connect things back to fat acceptance. But this reminds me of fat acceptance, where it's like, oh, well, it's violently fat phobic to have before and after pictures, as though that's like a form of oppression against you. Just it turns it into a caricature, just like this little song turns it into a caricature. You can be for animal rights. You can be for environmental protection. You can be for alternative food options that don't require the sacrifice of life. If that's your thing and your hill to die on, by all means, I understand that. But to paint it as if it is form of oppression in the form of vegan phobia or speciesism, as you were talking about, it makes you look like a joke and a caricature.
Hands up if you're vegan, think you can't do it? Try it, you can. Yeah. End speciesism, end Plants don't feel pain, they don't have a brain, they don't have a nervous system, so it's okay to bite into them. You have a heart, you know where to start. Share this song and be vegan from now on.
That whole thing about plants don't feel pain, I actually think that there's recent studies coming out that suggest that plants do in fact feel pain. Maybe not in the way that we perceive pain, but in a sense they feel pain as well. Like when you mow your lawn and you have that fresh cut grass smell, that's actually a distress signal to other plants that, you know, shit's going down and they're being brutally maimed. Like, it's just, like, to a certain extent, life in consuming other things does cause suffering to some extent in some form or fashion of another thing. And to a certain extent, I think you just kind of have to be okay with that. I love this. Plants have more nerves than animals do. I think calling it nerves might be, I don't know the proper term. I don't think nerves is the right term, but I think there is such a thing. And her response is so rude. Do you believe that the earth is flat? as a way to call them like a conspiracy theorist and an idiot, rather than saying like, please cite your evidence for that, which would be conducive to more of an argument. This is essentially an ad hominem attack. Plants do have a nervous system. Time to return to science class. No, I believe that, you know what? This is just kind of a random video, so we're going to look it up. This is from Sentient Media, so I'd like to find something else that I know is reputable. But just for a quick touch, all living organisms perceive and respond to painful touch, but plants do not perceive or feel pain the same way that animals do. Because they don't have a nervous system. They lack a nervous system and a brain. Let's see, do plants feel pain? Given that plants do not have pain receptors, nerves, or a brain, they do not feel pain as we members of the animal kingdom understand it. Uprooting a carrot or trimming a hedge is not a form of botanical torture, and you can bite into an apple without worry. However, it seems that many plants can perceive and communicate physical stimuli and damage in ways that are more sophisticated than we previously thought. Some plants have obvious sensory abilities, such as the Venus flytrap and its incredible traps that can close in about half a second. Similarly, the sensitive plant rapidly collapses its leaves in response to touch, an adaptation that might serve to startle away potential herbivores. While these plants visibly display a clear sensory capacity, recent research has shown that other plants are able to perceive and respond to mechanical stimuli at a cellular level. Arabidopsis, a mustard plant commonly used in scientific studies, sends out electrical signals from leaf to leaf when it is being eaten by caterpillars or aphids, signals to ramp up its chemical defenses against herbivory. While this remarkable response is initiated by physical damage, the electrical warning signal is not equivalent to a pain signal, and we should not anthropomorphize an injured plant as a plant in pain. Plants have exceptional abilities to respond to sunlight, gravity, wind, and even tiny insect bites, but thankfully, their evolutionary successes and failures have not been shaped by suffering, just simple life and death. So, interesting. So that's not so much that they can feel pain and they do not have a nervous system, which I thought sounded weird anyway. But they do have sensory abilities that, in response to damage, kind of like that smell of fresh cut grass after you cut the grass. It's interesting, and it kind of depends. They talk about not anthropomorphizing plants to feel that they feel pain the way that you and I do. And while I agree with that, I don't think that plants feel pain the same way. There's an argument that can be made there for distress signals sent out by plants in response to damage. And is that then ethical? Not to shit on any vegans. Like, you eat, if this is, of course, there's plenty of animal cruelty that comes with eating animals, so I understand wanting to protect the animals. I do. I completely understand all of that. I just wanted to throw that out there.
No.
So the comment that she has this laughing sound to says, I feel bad for children that get forced to eat vegan. It says, like, her son responded saying, I'm her son and I love being vegan. And you can put this as proof all you want, but depending on how old your son is, that's not necessarily indicative. Children will defend their parents regardless of how they personally feel, because it's a way of aligning with their parents. They love their parents. They view what their parents do for them, and it's a form of love, and it is. But they'll say they love something without having explored other options as well. Not all children love being vegan. I don't necessarily think that it is an issue so long as the child is getting all of its nutrients, it's monitored by a doctor. Then I don't think having your children eat vegan is in itself wrong, so long as all of their nutrients are getting met, even if you're using like supplements or something. If the child is not getting all the necessary nutrients, if they are deficient in something, then you as a parent need to reevaluate your priorities. But something else that's mentioned at the end of this, saying it's not a diet, it's a philosophical way of living to minimize as much harm as possible. And I think that's great. But don't, if God forbid you have a child that is allergic to a number of vegan protein options and has to eat protein, be that fish or chicken or whatever. It could also, like, just be aware. That's my only thing, is be aware.
Hi. So I'm not going to respond to you, but I'll respond.
So, unfortunately, this video is sideways, but I'm going to go ahead and read you the comment saying, no, I will continue being vegan phobic. Her captions further from here say, don't be vegan phobic, be vegan fantastic instead. Racism is wrong, homophobia is wrong, speciesism is wrong. So this is just something else that I want to note of how she is using racism and homophobia to connect back to the legitimacy of her sense of oppression around being vegan. Just want to throw that out there. Veganism is a choice. It can be seen as a philosophical way of life. I don't have a problem with that. But it is not, if you can't find vegan options near you, that's not oppression. But we're going to go ahead and let the rest of this play out, and I think I'm going to go ahead and end the video.
And to everybody else, because a lot of people don't know what vegan phobia is. So vegan phobia is very similar to homophobia or racism. It's deliberately being mean to animal rights activists who are born vegan. Now, actually, everybody is born vegan.
I love that, people who are born vegan, as though you don't have a choice in being vegan. No, being vegan is a choice, and it's fine if you want to be vegan, and it's fine if you have ethical reasons for being vegan. That's totally fine. I don't think that we're born vegan. We're not. The way the human body is set up is that the breasts produce milk. So, like, it's meant for babies. Babies are meant to eat or, drink their mother's milk. Are we supposed to have meat every day? Probably not. I would say that maybe there's an overconsumption of meat, of which I'm guilty of myself, so this is not anything on anyone who loves meat. But I don't think that we are born vegan.
We're born, we're little, we never wanted to hurt animals. And vegans have tapped into that and returned to their roots. Just like somebody is born gay and then they realize later on that they're gay, doesn't mean that we should be mean to them. Animal rights activists.
That comparison of vegans and, oh my god, it's so tone deaf, and it's so, like, this reads very similar to the fat acceptance movement to me.
Activists are here for the right reason. They just don't want to hurt animals. So why on earth would anybody want to deliberately be mean to people who are trying to save the lives of others? Would you be mean to us if we were trying to save the lives of gay people or save the lives of dark-skinned people? Of course not. So why would anybody want to be vegan phobic? I don't know.
I can't. I've had enough of this. It's almost, so primarily the primary focus of vegan phobia seems to be that vegan teacher. I think we'll go ahead and I'll make one more video. We'll take a look at one of her YouTube videos, I think. But tell me what you thought of this. Tell me what you think of vegan phobia. Tell me if you see parallels between vegan phobia and fat phobia. Take care of yourselves. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.